if you watch that one, but I got his last name wrong.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
I always thought it was Shirley, and it's Shirey.
Shirey, yeah.
Shirey. So I never live it down from him. So I always make sure I understand someone's name first. So all right, well, welcome back to the Fiero Project. I'm your host Jesse. Dayton cannot be here with me this week. He had a family emergency that he's dealing with. So all of our wishes are with him. Today, a really special guest, Gary Pickardt of Pickardt Performance. So Gary, thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, um, you got a bunch of projects behind you. What's that maroon car up on the lift?
That is Joe Aponics medium red formula 88 or so obviously 88 only year they made them, right? But so we helped him out with the first swap, and then have helped him out on a couple other smaller things. So this one's just changing out exhaust manifolds, upgrading doing some brake work for him. And then this one has to be serviced to AC, and then it'll be ready to go home next weekend.
Beautiful car. I love uh, that color, especially on a Formula. You don't see it that often. Usually see
Hmm.
the black, the red, the white, sometimes the yellows. But that's a really pretty color. So I really like that one.
Yeah, nice car.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So, all right, Gary, how long have you been interested in Fieros? What got you into them?
So I actually we've had a Fiero. Um, so I'll just go back to the beginning. It's probably easier. So I met my wife in Hawaii back in 1992 when I was stationed there, and we met and got married. And she had a Fiero, an '87 SE. So in fact, it was medium red, like that one behind me as well. 5-speed manual. So it was a fun little car. Um, but having kids and a growing family, we just couldn't keep it and the other cars we needed, and especially moving all over the place. So we ended up getting rid of that. And then it wasn't until much later that we even got into Fieros. So I spent 28 years in the Marine Corps, and probably towards the end when my kids were starting to drive around, the 15, 16-year-old time frame, Jen decided that she wanted to get another Fiero. So that's our red one. If you've ever seen that one, that's
Mhm.
actually my wife Jen's that she got. And we got that in 2013 time frame, back in California. It was a desert car out in Vegas. So we got that one, and then came home. A couple weeks later, we went back out to Vegas and got another one because my daughter liked it. So from there, we've been pretty consistent, um, but not really, consistent throughout the whole time we've been married. So took pretty big break in between there.
Yeah. I have to plug in here because a good friend of mine, Ryan Sechka, out of Wisconsin, body guy, he would be remiss if I didn't say that the 87 SE 5-speed is probably the best Fiero ever
Yeah,
created.
I've
So
I've I've read his. I remember when he posted about that, stirred up the pot a little bit. Good on him.
if I didn't say that, he would never, he would
Me,
just be like, hey, I knew you would never say something like that. So
perfect.
your first Fiero, what was your first? Now you had your wife had the 87 SE. What was yours?
Yep.
Like I claim this one as mine. Like
So I don't have one.
what?
Yeah. So I that red one I drive, it's actually my son stole it from my wife in high school. He's been driving it, and that was our first LS swap. Um, the gray one is my younger son's that was originally red. Um, so yeah, I don't have one. I have a couple ideas, but one of
Yeah,
these days I will have something.
that's interesting. You've taken care of your family and your kids before yourself. You make sure that they have all the toys, and I'm sure Dad sometimes jumps in there and has a little bit of fun himself. I'd imagine.
Oh yeah, yeah. I get to drive theirs. Pretty much the red one might as well be mine. It's I take care of it. My son's back in California, going. Well, he was going to school. He's working now. Just finished his master's, but so he leaves it here for me to play with at least.
Yeah. Um, so there at Picker Performance, what would you say is the neatest or most challenging project that you have worked on?
So this one's probably hard for some people to believe, but I would say Joe's 4.9 was the most challenging.
Hmm.
Um, for so short story here too. It came out of an 88 CJB from Pickardt out in California. He and I have known each other since we bought that other Fiero back there in California I was telling you about. But I went back and I ended up picking up his 88 GT CJB with the 4.9 swap in it that he picked up, brought it back here. And my goal was just to sell that, as a package and try to help him out and then do his LS swap. The problem is when I pull it out, I just ended up going through everything, literally everything. And then even when I got the engine apart, the cam bearings were corroded, or it was corrosion behind the cam bearings, and the block was shot. The it wasn't happy with the way the wiring was done, just over the years degraded. I don't know if, mice had even maybe got into it while it was stored. Um, but really when it came down to it, because I'm so spoiled with the LSs, we just hook up with HP tuners, and I go through it and I can remote tune through James Brewer in Texas. This one, trying to work with Ryan at Sinister Performance, recording ALDL files. And, this also has the Alante intake swap on it. So timing was way advanced all the way. It
Hmm.
was 20 degrees top dead center. Um, my first pre-88 car too that I worked on, believe it or not, in
Really?
a full swap like that, again, spooled with the 88s. So at least with our own personal cars. Um, so that one ended up being literally a complete rebuild. John Leo hooked us up with mounts and headers, and we did some stuff to modify the headers so we could put AC in it. Um, so as far as a challenge, that really, it wasn't just a quick package that we're going to take out of one car and put in another. It was literally a ground up build that ended up being a lot more challenging than I expected.
You know, I see a lot of people on the internet machine on the Facebooks talking about power and transmissions, and I kind of half expected to see one of your biggest challenges is having transmissions deal with the power of an LS with 400 horsepower and things like that. So how do you address that, and how reliable can you make the transmissions, and manuals or automatics, or how do you overcome that?
Well, so first of all, kind of separating the manuals between the automatics, you can debate all day long, right, of which is the strongest transmission, the F40, the F23, and honestly, I don't know. I can tell you which one's rated higher by engineering specs. So I figure those guys know a couple things, especially at GM, right? So really all we did was we picked something that we thought, would be a good swap. And then you go look on the internet. And of course, the first one, when you look at LS4 and F40, Fiero Guru comes up all over the place. So after, going through all that, talking with Paul, um, you know, there's there's the way you drive it, right? And then there's how much power a transmission can handle. And I believe if you walk the line between those, you can have, a 600 horsepower car like Justin's, and still not grenade the transmission. Of course, we've done other things to go with that. It's got a wave track, limited slip diff. We came up with new axles, 4340 chromoly, but even designing those and using stock parts, we still want that to be the weak link, right? Because I'd rather axle break, and he's broken one already. Of course, with that much power, you're going to find where the weak link is somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But as long as I think, just go back to V8 Archie. I mean, these guys have been doing this for a long time, and it. I mean, I know Shirley and or Paul. I'm sorry. I know a couple guys that have obviously put stock transmissions even behind 3800 supercharged swaps, and I think Paul told me a story about his 3800 supercharged swap, and Paul Kobus, I don't know if you know him.
Yep.
um but so he grenaded one, a 4-speed, I think, and he wasn't even really trying. So we stick with the newer version. We watch how we drive it. Even if you watch some of our stuff, we do roll racing, which is a lot easier on the gearboxes than straight up launching them. to, like I said, a little bit of design characteristic there with the axles, keeping stock CVs, and then between the F40, F23, we'll see. I don't know. It's we've been doing it for 4 years now, and so far, knock on wood, no issue. So we'll
Excellent.
see.
So, saying that you've been doing those for about 4 years, how long has Pickardt Performance been around?
So June of 2019 officially is when we created our tax ID, our EIN for Pickardt Performance. Honestly, I think really we're not even officially a business yet, in my mind, right? Because I know where we are and where I want to be, and just with myself and Justin both working full time, there's no way we can keep up with, doing this. So we've scaled back. There's a lot we want to do, but I have 5 cars I need to finish, and then after that, we're going to switch and we have a new business plan, and we can talk about that later probably, but we'll switch that business plan probably next year after I finish these 5 cars, and then focus on a little bit bigger and getting other stuff out there.
Well, it kind of rolls into my next question. So, tell us all about Pickardt Performance.
So we did the first LS swap, and to be honest, I don't hate, but it's kind of misleading to call them LS swaps, right? It's LS4, very specific. It means something, right? Even though it's the bastard child of the LS family, it works very well for this application, and we have learned a ton. You can swap all kinds of stuff around. Of course, we didn't know any of that in the beginning. So we went out looking. I bought stuff from West Coast Fiero. I bought, stuff from people online off of Penix. Reached out to Paul Smith, Fiero guru, great guy. Joe Sokol, Fiero King. Some of these guys have been doing this stuff for a lot longer than I have. Even reached out and talked to Archie about axles and measuring, and kind of got, some thoughts from him. So I tried to take a lot of what these guys have been doing, and try to, at least out of the box, have something I knew was going to be fairly successful, right? As far as just a car. After going through that, though, we realized nobody makes anything out there really for these. So bottom line is, we make everything you need for an LS4 swap, manual or automatic. What we don't offer are the products that people already make, like Fiero Guru has all the cables. He has the F40 brackets, the clutch adapter for the line. So if there's stuff already out there, I have people go to him. Everything else from mount brackets, axle swaps, AC lines, uh, coolant fill necks, all pedal brackets, all the little stuff. I could literally put in a kit and sell a one kit to do a swap. And that's our goal, is to, like I said, once we finish these our last 5 official swaps, we've done a lot of work with suspension here recently, and that's our goal, is to have kind of like a 3-stage suspension setup. So whether you're just more of a stock kind of replacement thing, or a full on kind of road course, hopefully we'll have something for you. So long term, what we're looking at, we want to build cars. I've got 5 cars here. I want to build it the way we want them to be finished, with obviously a swap, most likely an LS4 swap, but maybe, like we talked about, an LFX or something like that. I like the 4.9s. It's a peppy little engine with that 5-speed. It's a great swap, and I'll probably have one of those built with one of those cars. But then you're also going to get suspension. You're going to get brakes. You're going to get interior paint, wheels, the whole 9, right? So
Yeah.
our goal is to take that car, and as Paul Ackerman, gave us an idea, since you mentioned him earlier, if somebody has a nice car, rather than swapping theirs, if they want to trade it, we can come to an agreed value based on a trade towards the new build. And that'll keep us from having to go search for cars also, if there's people that might be willing to do trades, and
Oh,
for credit towards the total price of the build.
oh, that's an interesting idea. I haven't. No one's really done that. So that's really really interesting. It's funny earlier how you said the LS4 is the bastard engine and kind of the GMs and the LSs, and then our Fieros are kind of the bastard child of the GM in the
Perfect.
80s as well.
Yeah,
So
perfect
it's a
union,
it's a
right?
match made in heaven, really, when it comes down to it. Um,
Definitely.
so speaking of the LFX, speaking of suspension, I was perusing your Facebook page, and you have some really interesting stuff coming up with suspension stuff.
Yep.
Tell me more about that.
So like I said, we've had 88s mainly, for our personal vehicles. So we started with that. When you start lowering anything, it kind of messes with the suspension geometry. So we use in the rear, we use Paul's lateral lowering links. If you've seen those, so when you lower the rear, you put the swing back to more of a stock setting on those lower links, and it does make a pretty big difference. You can feel it. The other thing on the rear is, so when you look at the coilover packages, you're just sleeves sitting on a stock modified strut. So we've been able to take a WRX strut that is a full coilover and adapt it to fit on the Fiero suspension. And then between 88, pre-88, or even if you're doing like what we're doing a build, we're putting all 88 suspension on an 85 car. Then we have adjustable or offset top hats that you don't have to modify the car, all the way up to something like Justin's, where you have dual adjustability because now it's got top camber plates. That you can go to the track, set up your track basically settings for camber, and then readjust it and drive home if you don't want to, keep it at the all that camber added in it. And that's not a new idea. There's guys out there been doing it longer than we have, but I think we can package it and get it out there, for people to use. And then the front suspension really is where we've made the most progress. So we have a full lower tubular control arm for the 88, and that's a 4140 chromoly tubular package, far stronger than the original one, far less flex, right, than the stock. And we use on our packages right now QA1 coilover packages, and then anywhere from a stock spring, to all the way up to, I think we use on Justin's a 375-pound spring on his. And you'd be surprised, it's actually a lot smoother. It's not rigid, and it rides better than our lowered 88 just on stock springs. And then on the upper arms, we have fully adjustable upper A arms to finish out that package, especially when you get lower, trying to get the wheel back into adjustment properly on the front when you have it that low. So we've already done it on the 88. We've made the final revisions. Those packages have been out now for several months, and we're doing the same thing for the pre-88s is what we call it. It'll have the same type of setup. The challenge is obviously, since it's so different on how it mounts, just getting the off the shelf parts that we want, so we don't literally have to make everything by hand, and then send the cost through the roof just to buy a package. So that's where we're at, and we're going to focus on spring options, shock options, and then just make the upper and lower arms so you can have a little bit better performance out of that front end.
So we've talked about suspension, LSs a little bit, and I didn't realize at one time. I thought you and I had spoke before. I don't know if you remember this, but you and
Hmm.
I had spoke once before. I thought your shop for a long time is someone you send your car to get the engine and stuff. So you sell a complete LS kit basically for someone to modify their cradle or get everything done. Is there anything else like that that people just don't realize? Because I mean, you do so much. There's got to be some little things like that that people just don't realize that you'll take care of.
So because we started out basically, you send us your car, we'll do the whole swap for you, and then while it's here, what else do you want? you know so like Tim, that nice white 88 CJB, that was a really pretty car. We ended up picking up here locally, got it painted for him, did some interior work. And I still need to go back out there in December and meet with them and do some updates and help them fix a couple things. But that was a beautiful car. but I don't have time to do those. It's just me and Justin, right? So if I do a package, sorry, there's some mosquitoes in here, but if I just do a package, right, that's a plug and play, and you could take it to any installer, or if somebody's even kind of handy like we are, we started out, just in a one car garage that you couldn't even put a car in, so we use a cherry picker out in front of it to do our engine swaps. So that was kind of the genesis of build a package that's turnkey enough to either have a more experienced mechanic be able to install their own, or take it to somebody that's pretty straightforward enough to just put it in and get it going. But the little things that we do, I wouldn't say, I think probably the biggest thing we do that people don't realize is just the amount of time we spend on either Messenger or Facebook, or even on phone calls sometimes, just giving information out. That's free. I don't mind talking to people. It doesn't hurt my feelings. You're not stealing any business if I give away secrets. If it's easier, for you to get something and I can point people in the right direction. Justin talks to a lot of people. We know a lot of people and have connections. So if we can give you any references, I say that's probably the biggest thing of what we can do to help people, more than just the packages. Um,
Well, and you
on
did
top of
that.
that,
You did that for me.
yeah, the
My buddy's
transmission,
building a
right?
3800 supercharged car, and I talked to you about transmissions, and you sent me right to the guy. And I mean, fortunately,
Yeah,
he's in the town that my kids live in, so we were able to get it figured out and get his transmission to him. So that
there
was
you go.
huge help. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, and then, and it's exciting to see a lot of the younger guys, or not just guys. I mean, Christina Khan out there. There's younger people in general, right, that are really starting to latch onto this car and do a lot of good stuff with it, and that's exciting. So if we can help them succeed, so they don't get frustrated and give up on their project, that's really important to us, and that's why we try to include them in a lot of the stuff we try to give away, or even a lot of the posts that we do in with Justin's car, to kind of excite that age group a lot.
So I gotta ask, and I already think I know the answer. So
All right.
your favorite Fiero, year, model, options? Like if you're like, okay, if I could have this build sheet from the factory still in factory configuration, not LS4 yet, what is your favorite car?
So you're gonna laugh, but I don't really have a favorite car like you would think, like would be like an 88 GT CJB or something
Yeah.
like that. Um, you know, Quite a while ago when we were looking at actually building a car, um, I actually saw an IMSA Fiero, and it's a yellow one. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that one,
I am.
but Paul, out there, and I finally got to meet him last week out at LS Fest. So I met Paul, and I didn't get the chance to see his car, but we got to go out to dinner and we got to talk, and he got to see our car, which is pretty cool. Had a lot of great discussions on how to build things and why we chose certain things. But if I was going to say that if there was any one car I could go either buy or build, that his car would probably be something I try to emulate, because
That's
I don't
fair.
think he's ever going to sell his, right?
Probably not.
Yeah.
They I went to the Heartland show and I got to see Fred's wide body with Super Duty in it. And I tell you, it is
Nice.
something else. I mean, it's a beautiful car.
Yeah.
I really wish they would have like mass produced that. That would have been a whole different, ball of wax. But hey, that's another story. So, okay, so we talked a little bit. We're not doing this live. I put some feelers out for some questions, and we got a few back. So,
All
the
right.
first question comes from a young lady named Jen in Virginia. What has been your favorite notchback build?
So see that one on the lift right there?
Yeah, that beautiful formula sitting there.
Yeah,
That's
that medium red.
yeah, it's gorgeous.
Otherwise, if you look at all the rest of them, they're all been GTs. I haven't built a notchback. So I'm gonna get her on the technicality, because hi Jen Goss. Um, I didn't build their car. We helped them with the engine swap, and did the engine package build on that one, which is a great example of what I'm talking about, right? I We went and helped them, of course, because we're good friends. But um, I mean, that is probably one of my favorite builds, but it's not my build. Um, as far as a notchback goes, we have yet to build one. So we have a plan, and we're working with a couple people. We're going to make a clone of Justin's gray one in a notchback form with an IMSA wing. Um, not, well, I'm not going to give that away. It's going to be a boosted LS4, but I won't say any more than that.
That's fair.
But it'll be the clone to Justin's, and it'll be Nardo gray as well. It'll be set up just the same, just in a notchback. So that will be our first notchback build, just to be perfectly fair.
To be clear about
There you
build,
go.
it'll be your first build. I like
Yeah.
that. So another question here from a gentleman named Clint. So if someone is building a car, for each major component, engine, trans, brakes, suspension, etc., what would you say would be the best bang for the buck?
Best bang for the buck. So, all right. So for the engine, um, we actually did a 3800 build, and I traded that in a car for Justin's, actually for a different car. So the 3800 obviously is the best bang for the buck, right? It's probably one of the engines that should have been in there to begin with. You know, um, that all boils down to what's your personal preference and what's your budget, right?
Yeah.
So, but bang for the buck, I would have to go with that. As far as kind of a known, right? I think some of the newer motors, like even the Ecotechs, right? If you can get a package, um, those might be fairly cheap nowadays, and it has pretty decent power. Probably not as much as like Adam's running his 4.1 stroke or 3800, right? But there's a lot of good choices. If you want something known, off the shelf, people that do it, 3800 is probably the most well known, most supported by the community, and the most budget friendly. For brakes, depending on the year, but if it were me, um, even the Beretta brakes, I mean, they're just off another. I know it's a good upgrade, but if I'm going to go through that much trouble, I'm going to stick an 88 cradle underneath there and go full 88 brakes all the way around. Um, with a simple brake booster upgrade, you get the rod for the booster from Rodney Dickman. You order the brake booster off Summit. You swap the bracket to mount it. You have to massage your front compartment a little bit to get that bigger brake booster to fit. But you do that with the 88 stock calipers. You get some Corvette 12-inch rotors, and I'll tell you, and some stainless or some steel braided brake lines. That alone tremendously uh, improves your braking capability a lot, right? So those two really are the big things, I would say, just because of suspension wise. I'll be honest, if you're going for style, then just get whatever you like, right? Because all those manufacturers, whether you KYB or any of them, they're all pretty much the same. They're all aftermarket. Um, you're going to have to modify that strut and buy some sort of coilover kit. Uh, those are not really good performance wise either way you look at it, right? And until you get into like the market we're talking about with true coilovers with the preload, like the WRX ones we're talking about, um, you know, they may not be the best bang for the buck. So that's why I would have to go something with like a Fiero Guru kit. I think he's got a $350 kit. You can buy $100, Monroe rear struts and upgrade your rear suspension so you can sit it. And then for the front, for the struts, without going to a full, coilover kit, honestly, take a set of springs and just cut them.
Yeah.
Be careful, right? Don't overcut it because you don't want to slam it. But you'd be surprised what you take the 88 springs were the softest. If you take those, cut a half a coil, see if that sits low enough. Definitely don't want to go more than a coil and a half. I know that from experience. Because then you got it really sitting low. Then you got to adjust the bump stops and all that, right? But that actually, you increase the spring rate a little bit by cutting that stock 88 spring for the front, right? But you're keeping everything else stock, and then you can get your car to sit a little bit lower, maybe change your center of gravity a little bit so it might feel a little more nimble, right? Um, and that's probably the best bang for the buck as far as brakes go without going purpose built. And
Sure.
then once you start talking purpose built, whether you're talking either street or track, then it's a whole different game. There's no best bang for the buck. It's finding, what works properly for your setup, that you're trying to run.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how you're working with the WRX coilovers and trying to and finding a way to make those work. I think that's something that will hit the community in a pretty big way because everyone's been kind of piecing together, you know, coilovers for a long time. So I'll be interested to see what comes out of that. That's pretty exciting. So Paul Ackerman came on and asked, any chance of electric assist in the future? I'm thinking a couple of motors up front for the initial startup, and then LS takes over. Might even turn the Fiero into a pseudo all-wheel drive car.
Yeah, man, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? That is a that is a lot to digest right there.
That's a lot to digest. Maybe we can get Elon on board.
Yeah, or just get Dayton back and we'll just convert his car first, right?
Yeah, well, his
Um,
car is going to weigh 17,000 pounds.
yeah.
Um,
So he
so
probably that's why I'm saying he probably needs it. Um, you
if
know,
you follow his Instagram page, he put his new license plates on there.
yeah.
Did you see what they said?
No, I don't I need
Overweight.
okay. Go figure, right? Good one. Good one. When we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, I said that we like to keep it simple and stick to one thing. And then we kind of had a discussion. How do you talk about simple and LS swap in the same sentence when it comes to Fiero? But it really is, like I said, that sounds great. We'd love to do stuff like that, but that would end up being a one-off, and it would take us way too much time to try to develop that and understand the technology enough to really make it where we felt like it was a performance additive, not just trying to get it roadworthy, right? Um, so we'll stick to the simple solution, which are the LS swaps for now, and we'll look at other engine packages later on. But maybe Justin's new son Benjamin down the road, when that stuff's more off the shelf, they can work on that.
That's right. New son Benjamin, you're grandpappy now, huh?
Yep, that's actually our fourth one. So
Oh,
Justin's first. My daughter has two small ones, and then married into one with her husband. So yeah, it's a nice addition to the family, though.
so are you going to get all the grandchildren LS cars before you get your own?
Not before I get my own. I got a plan, but my only granddaughter so far, she's just over 2, and she loves this red formula that I have that I got from Tim out in Nashville. But she loves that car. She comes over, and every time she sees it, she walks up to it and has to get in it. So that's pretty awesome. I've already had the quote or the posts about now having to get the new grandson a Fiero. So with the collection we have out here, I'm sure we'll find him one day though.
Oh yeah, you'll be able to always find one. So, I mean, I've got my kid, my son. He loves them as well, and I don't know. I got 4 or 5 sitting around here somewhere. I'm sure he can figure one out. So,
Nice.
um, all right. Well, I mean, that concludes everything that we wanted to go over. Gary, anything that you feel that I've missed that you want to say or bring up about your company or the community or anything at all?
So quick pitch for the we call it the memorial build, the Gilbert Memorial. He used to hold tech sessions at his house up there in Pennsylvania, and we helped out a young gentleman a couple years back, which kicked off our memorial. His car was in a sad state of repair, totally rusted. Long story short is, he had some health issues, so we ended up fixing his car for him, and that was pretty extreme. We did a total rebuild of a car, painted it, got it running and driving over a long weekend. Um, this year, we're going to go more to the tech session type of build, right? Bring your car, we'll work on it. We're going to donate a pair of those WRX coilovers I'm talking about
Nice.
and install them down there for somebody, and then work on just some other stuff that people need fixed. Um, and then go on a cruise, hang out, have some fun, have a picnic, a barbecue, bonfire. So
I love that, and that is fantastic. I wish more clubs did that, and I may not be as educated on all the clubs out there. I used to be a part of the Kansas City Fiero owners group, and
mm,
we had a couple we would build and auction the car off for a benefit every year, and I always, it gave you sense of purpose, and it made you feel good about doing something you love while helping someone in time of need. And it's
yep,
just, even the tech sessions, you absolutely know how to do a lot of things. I know how to do a few things, and if we can, help
yep.
the community out to keep these cars on the road, that's, the more help the merrier. So what a great program you guys do there.
Thanks,
Anything
appreciate it.
else?
So hey, like we talked about the suspension, I don't want to keep us too long, but
No,
you know,
no, it's
if
your
there's
time.
if there's other ideas out there, we'd love to hear them. You know, um, Obviously I can't do all-wheel drive electric vehicle, but if there's other more simple things, that make sense, that I wouldn't say necessarily just help the community, but it would be more in the performance or upgrade arena, that is worth looking at. I'm not going to go make new gas tanks like Rodney. I mean, Rodney's been providing awesome products now to the Fiero community. But performance-wise, if there's anything people are interested in, we'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, I met Rodney. I went to his house. I actually went up into Wisconsin to get some parts from some other people, and super welcoming guy. Definitely knows his stuff with these cars and has been making parts for a super long time. So, and that's something I gotta say, it didn't surprise me talking to you, but it's something I can appreciate. Is one of the things that you said was that you definitely don't want to step in. If someone's building something that is good and reliable and puts it out on the marketplace, you don't want to take that from them.
No,
And that's a big piece of why I love this community is there is that support out there. If someone's making a product that is good and you have no interest in getting into their space and messing up their side hustle or their living or whatever. I mean, there's that's very respectful, and I can tell you, I appreciate it a lot because it's. I mean, there's the world is cutthroat for a lot of reasons, and there's no reason we have to kill each other over these parts. So
exactly.
that's great, and I really appreciate you investing time, money, energy into creating different ways to keep this car alive. Like you said, there's a lot of young people out there. Christina, Dayton, there's lists, right?
Exactly.
Um, Trevor out of Colorado. I mean, there's Cameron. I just talked to Cameron up there
Yeah, I
in the
saw that. That was a
Northeast.
good one.
Yeah, he's a great kid. They're here for they're the next generation of us, right? So to
Absolutely.
to keep it alive by bringing a lot of those new parts in and creating more new parts, like the control arms are going to be awesome as soon as you get rolling on those on the pre 88s. I won't buy an 88 typically, so I'm super excited to see those. Um,
Nice.
I don't have a problem with 88s. It's just things are more
Sure.
expensive on them, and people want more money for them. So
Yep.
I'm excited to see all that, and I appreciate, as someone in the community, I appreciate you keeping the car alive and continuing to drive innovation and development on them. So,
Appreciate it.
all right,
Yeah.
man.
So
Well,
if you're ever down this way, man, come check us out.
I'm in
You
Virginia
know,
all the time. It's my
take
home.
you. I'll take you for a ride.
Oh man. Okay, I'm booking my ticket. Like,
All right. Sounds
where's
good.
Expedia here? Let me get Expedia. So, all right. Well, if you need anything or you want to chat, just give me a call. Do you have your website, phone number, any information you want to put out on here to?
So we don't, right? Like I said, we've been all word of mouth. I can't keep up with what we got. So that bothers me a lot more than people realize, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we don't advertise. That's why I don't put stuff out there. But as we transition, I'm taking a new job. Right now, I'm a government employee. I'm going to transition back into more of a civilian type job, and hopefully go part time this next year. So we'll see how that goes. And once we do that, then I'll put an actual website out there. We've already started development of that, and have a lot of work already done. I just don't want to push it until we're ready to be able to support it. But if you want to check us out, just for the fun of it, and see the stuff we're working on, check out Pickardt Performance, 2Ps, there on Facebook. We post all our builds. If you need help, feel free to reach out, ask questions. And then there's a lot of other people on there that have a ton of experience like yourself, and so if we don't know, there's probably somebody on there that can find out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and definitely visit the page if you want to hear a spoolie boy just go crazy on an LS. That's a very unique sound.
Yeah, it was a good time at LS Fest. I think between the Gosses and us, we represented the community pretty well. So it
Yeah.
was it was a
So,
good time.
anyone give you trouble for having a Fiero out there in the LS world?
Not at all, man. In fact, I felt a lot of love. It was we first time going, so I didn't know what to expect. And not to get too far backwards, but our first time going to any show at all was in 2019 when we went to Carlisle. So you know we're trying to make our way out there, get the car out to different shows. We went to Clean Culture here and that's a tuner expo, right? Here at Maryland International Raceway. We ran the cars down the track. I couldn't keep up with the gray one. It was crazy. He once he hit third, he was gone. But just like events like that, getting out to different crowds, I had at least a handful of people come up and ask what car it was. And the cool thing was, in the end, it was the only American car to win an actual top 30 prize award.
Yes.
So
I love it.
that's what I love. That's what gets Jess and I excited about this, not just within our own community, but getting out and getting people in other communities to appreciate the cars as well.
Well, I've had a ball talking with you, Gary. If you ever need anything, please reach out. I appreciate you being on the show, like more than you know. It's been super exciting talking with you. So,
Same here,
thanks
man.
again,
Thanks,
man. I
Jesse.
appreciate you. Good luck and everything. And I am so excited to see what you bring to the community over the next, months, weeks, years. It's going to be great.
We got some tricks up our sleeve. So yeah.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, man.
Bye.
Bye.